Hey everybody, it's Lance the Lush. Now, we're going to do something a little strange today. Now, here's what's going on. I've been seeing all these call-out posts as far as some questions for us, the reviewers. Now, I'm not totally sure how this started, and I totally apologize about that, but I wasn't called out directly, but I decided to play along with this because these are actually really good questions, and I'm going to answer some today. Now, this is the very first question is this. Gotta look at my screen here, so I move something around. The first question is the obvious one. How did you get into beer geeking, and why beer? Okay. This question is actually a really good question for me for this reason. I wasn't going to do this at first. Now, this all started with me. You gotta go back to my main YouTube channel, which is my politics channel. Now, the very first beer I reviewed was Burning Beer. Now, Burning Beer is named after Bernie Kosar, former Cleveland Browns quarterback. And that was designed to be a one-off, never did it again video. And I told myself, now wait a minute here, this is easy, I can do this. So I started searching around and see all the reviewers out there, and everybody looked like they really enjoyed what they did. It's like, you know what? And I started slowly, then I started going to something really good, and I really enjoy it. And why beer? Okay. Anybody who knows me knows this. I am a bourbon guy through and through. I can do bourbon reviews, but you know what? It's just pricey, and I do drink a lot of beer. So it was a match made in heaven, basically, from that standpoint. Now, the second question is, what's your favorite beer? Now, this question to me is kind of vague. I don't know if they're talking about my favorite beer in general or favorite of all time. So it's really Now, favorite beer. Now, I'm going to go to the favorite beer of all time. And this is a beer, and so everybody knows I'm not drinking beer right now. I'm actually drinking coffee, only because it's still very early in the morning. My favorite beer of all time is a beer they don't even make anymore. And that was Pete's Wicked Wonderlust Cream Ale. And this is when I was living out in Phoenix. I can drink that all year long, and I'm not a cream ale guy. But it was just so good and so smooth. I can have it on those cold nights out there in Phoenix, because it does get cold out there. Or those 115 degree days. To me, it was just universal. So I'm assuming of all time, but that's something to where they just don't make it anymore. And I wish they did. And I wish somebody would clone it, because I would buy it. And I would buy it in bulk. Now, the third question is this. If you had one beer forever, what would it be? Honestly, I have to go Baltic Porter. I'm talking about Baltic Porters in general. Yes, okay, I'm a porter guy. Through and through. Maybe not necessarily on the super hot days, but it's one of those ones where that's something I can have all the time, even though it's starting to get warm here again. So I'll switch to lighter craft beers because we're getting that time of year. But to answer that question, I gotta go with a Baltic Porter. Now the next question is, let's see here. How can you drink so much? How do you stay healthy? Okay. Anybody who's watched my channel for a long time know this. I had a medical scare, and it had to do with ulcers. So I'm a pretty much healthy guy for the most part, if not counting my bad knees. So it's one of those ones to where I don't really drink like I used to anyway, outside of Fridays when I do my reviews on Fridays. So I'm pretty much somewhat healthy. Yeah, I can binge drink. Sure, and that's one of the questions further down. I'll get to that in a minute. I'm relatively healthy, so, you know, I drink, but I only drink really heavily 1 or 2 days a week. Not necessarily binge drinking, but we'll get to that in a moment. Are you an alcoholic is the very next question. Okay, now here's the deal with this. I've been accused of that. Now, my definition of an alcoholic is this. They gotta have it all the time. Now, what helps me a lot now is my regular job. I work a weird schedule, so I'm off at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'll maybe have one right before I go to bed, But that's, if even then, if I do, I don't finish it half the time. So why even do it, you know? I don't consider myself as the classic alcoholic because I know how to put it down and walk away. There's something called a working alcoholic. They know they got to work to have the alcohol. I'm not even that, you know. Like I said earlier, I've really cut back, and a lot of that to do with said ulcers. So far as the classic alcoholic, I am not. Now I am Lance the Lush, but I don't really drink once a day. Not once a day, once a week now. Let's see here. So it really depends on the person who's drinking. So it all really depends as far as that. What's your favorite ingredient? This is a loaded question. And I'm not totally sure how to answer it. Because I like ingredients depending on the beer itself. So I really can't answer this question. I really can't. I mean, that's just a toughie. So I have no one favorite ingredient. It depends, like I said, on what I'm drinking at the time. What makes a beer stand out? What does it make stand out? Is it up front? Is it way in the background? Does it make it more alcoholic as far as the volume, less alcoholic? There's a lot of variables in that question. So Lush fans, I really can't answer that question. Now, the next question is number 7. Do I brew? Not yet. Now, if you watch the video directly before this one, I did an unboxing, so it's coming. So the brewing is coming. And it's really a 2-part question. Now, the second part of the question, do I brew for myself? That question right now is yes, even though I already got an order from a friend of mine. And people, like the local bar I go to, they've already inquired about it. And they want to try it. So let's see how this goes. So never say never. I do have an end game. So stay tuned as far as that. But you're talking way down the road for the stay tuned. And the final question is, let's see. Oh, there are 2 questions. I take back. What was your first beer? Okay. My first beer was probably God, my father. Not my stepfather. My actual biological father. He drank Bush. That's what he drank. That's what I first had. Bottom line. Now, my first craft beer, you got to go back in time with me as far as that. I was back in high school. And this brewery is not around anymore. It was a Blimp City beer. I want to say I had a red for them. It was an Irish red, and it was so good. Now, as far as craft beer, that is what got me hooked. But outside of Pete's, Wicked, like I said earlier in the video, I got it for a long time. I did. I'll have the occasional one, because like when I lived in Phoenix, I lived on the far, far west side, and all the craft breweries were on the east side. So I had to travel 40, 50 miles. And plus my work schedule wouldn't allow it. Then when I got back here to Ohio, that's when I started getting back into it, especially when I first started doing reviews. So it was really a two answer question, a 2 answers to the question. So my first beer was Bush. My first craft was Blimp City. So that's what it is, Lush fans. And my final question is this. The final question was this, excuse me. Who in the beer world do I look up to? Okay. You gotta look at it from this standpoint. Who do I look up to? When I first started doing reviews, it was actually Dave Coulter of Dr. Dave the Beer Professor. Sorry, Dave. I couldn't say it. When I first started doing the reviews themselves, I looked up to him a lot because he's local. Well, he's local to me. He's up in Cleveland and down in Akron. And his presentation is what I really, really liked. And so I modeled myself after him. And a lot of and keep in mind too, on my main YouTube channel, which is the politics channel, I will always do that video first, and directly behind it, I do the review. That's why you see me dressed up. And I try to keep that format as much as I can, unless I'm on the road doing reviews. Because I want to be more comfortable when I'm doing that. Who else I look up to? Honestly, I gotta say Ron Shea of R. Shea Brewing. When I first did the interview with him, I can see the passion coming out, and I totally look up to him for that. And you got it in the supporting cast in craft breweries themselves. Not necessarily the brewmaster or the owner or whatnot, the supporting cast that makes it work. From the grunts all the way up. And that's why I really look up to, because it's just not the brewmaster or the owner who's the stars of the show. It's that complete supporting cast who I have to look up to, because they're the ones that make it happen. Well, Lush fans, this was that call out. This is the call out video that's going around to the other reviewers. Now, I'm not going to call anyone out, but I wanted to do this on my own because it was a great series of questions. Well, Lush fans, that's it. Your next videos are coming up, so stay tuned for the next edition of Lance to Lush.